for worn, frayed, length, and diameter. Everything on there was okay, so we'll mark that box. Now for our next item, number 8, we're going to look at our air filter. Is it worn or damaged? And some other quick things we'll look, is it packed with debris or dirt or any other observations that we might see when we first pull the cover off of our air filter here. So for that, we'll remove this guy on an 880. Some of the new saws have a little quarter turn click deal. Some you have to pull the whole top. But anyway, so we look at it here, everything's looking good. Now there's no little selection here that we can look at. We have summer and winter positioning here. So this one is set for summer position with that tab going that way. Winter position, you pull this little black tab over and you flip it over. So we have a little thing there that we'd want to look at sometime too, depending on the time of year and what's going on. Let's place that out of the way. Now we'll look at our air filter. What does it look like? Well, let me just bring you over and we'll take a peek at it. Now our air filter here, it's got some dirt in it. I mean, it's not beautiful, but it's an air filter. We're not seeing anything here that's grossly out of line or anything. So we'll write that down as okay. And the newer ones, like on the 461s, 2s, and 500Is, they are pleated, they're pleated, and they can have stuff in them as well. But we're just kind of taking a quick look at it. So for our oil filter, for our air filter, we're going to look packed with, it's not packed, it has some there, but it's not packed. So we're going to check that off as okay. Next, we're going to look for dirt or debris on the clean side of the filter. So let's take a moment, pop this filter off very gently, and look on the inside. And we're looking in there. I don't see anything that's an issue. Everything in there looks good, so we'll set that down. Everything in there looks good. All of our area there, yeah, I don't see any problems there. Okay. Dirt and debris on clean side of filter, okay. Evidence of dirt in a carburetor board or on choke butterfly. Now, another thing that I'll do sometimes, this one I didn't because it wasn't really that dirty. If the saw is horribly dirty, before I pull that air filter, I will choke it all the way. So you can kind of see there, I hope, how the choke plate is closed now, and dirt is not likely to get down in there when we pull this apart. So if it's a really filthy saw, before I remove any of that, I'll just simply put my hand on it, take it to full choke, then remove everything so nothing goes down that bore. Now when I look in there, I'm looking for any dirt, any problems. I don't see anything. I can see all the way down to the throttle plate. I've kind of got that light position where I can look right down through there. Everything there looks okay. So I'm not seeing any problems yet. So okay there, and we're right here, none, everything looks good, and okay there. Next. Other observations, I didn't see anything else wrong, so we're going to write okay. Carburetor screw settings. So let's look at the carburetor screws here real quick. And this is where I love this fancy tool right here. I'm going to take a moment and scoot these pieces over out of the way. I need to put a lift kit on that toolbox so we can slide stuff over there. All right, now I'm going to spin you around here so you can see what we've got. Comes to our carburetor. Now, when we look at our settings here, we can just lay this on here so we know what we've got, which screws which, and what it should be. Now, okay, now for our carburetor adjustment, we're going to check this. We've got our cap on here, and we're going to look, and our two screws here that we have to adjust are a high screw and our low screw. So I'm going to look at our low screw here real quick. We've got our fancy little screwdriver here, and just line this point up with the 0. And again, you don't have to have this, but this is just a really cool tool, and I thought I'd show you how it works. So what we'll do, here's our starting point. I'm holding the disc. I'm going to turn it in and back out. Okay, that's quarter of a turn. 1/4 of the direction. We turned it to the 4 down there out of 16. So 4/16 is a quarter of a turn, exactly what we need. Now let's pull it out and go find our high screw. There, she fell right in there. 0. Oh. Well, that might be part of our problem, mightn't it? So there is fully on the seat, and back to where we started. We are 2/16 of a turn. We're at 1/8 of a turn. Somewhere between probably a 1/10 and an 1/8 here of a turn. this is definitely worth noting. This should be backed out a half a turn. So if this is a wide open throttle and we're only here, we could have a situation that's not good for our air fuel mixture. So we're going to make note of this. Now we're down here to our carburetor screw settings. Our low is 1/4 and our high is 1/8 to 1/10, somewhere in that neighborhood. That is definitely worth noting. So we're going to put us a circle. That's just a little thing I like to do. I want to be sure to come back and visit that. I'm going to put under here, it should be a half. And okay. So there is a problem. Now, next is our spark plug connection, terminal spring, and high tension lead connection. So let's look at that real quick. That off. I like to just leave it on there. There we go. All right, now let's loosen this up, swing this around. Okay, now we're ready to check our spark plug connection, terminal spring, and our high tension lead connection. So we're going to get a screwdriver real quick and take this fella loose. Two screws on an 880 hiding down in here. We'll go ahead and slide that back off out of the way. Another thing too to make sure on labels earlier was to make sure we have our spot here all marked. All right, so we'll take these two screws here loose. And again, every product has a slight difference on how this top comes off. I just leave that screw there, and that way it'll come right up with that cover. All right, we'll leave that one there as well. Now we'll ease this part off of here. I want to loosen that. I like to take those bottom ones loose before this completely, so it doesn't kind of crack it. Now what I'm listening for is it coming off the threads and setting back down. Hear that? Hear that? So that means we're completely off right there. Just grab it. Let's see here. Yeah, there it comes. All right, so we'll pop that off of there, get it out of the way. Now we're ready to just slide this cover right up out of here. And those screws again should just hang out in there. Shouldn't be a big problem. Okay, there we go. You can kind of see those screws just staying there. We'll just lay them over to the side now. Now, a little bit of melted plastic there. Let's look at the bottom of that and see what's going on. I don't see anything there that's a huge problem. That may have just been melted from when they put it together. I don't see a issue there with the cover, so nothing there to be alarmed at. Now I always, look in here and see if anything's right off the bat. There's a little tiny piece of dust there, not the end of the word. I'm going to pull this little seal off real quick. And that little guy's important because he keeps the air flowing where it needs to go. So remember, you need to look for that little seal in there. Don't neglect that part. Now, next thing we're looking for is this spark plug. Now when I was feeling for it there, when I popped that off there, it had a pretty good little pop there, so that felt good. Now the next thing I want to look for is the wire down in the bottom here. Let me get a little screwdriver, a pick here, and you'll hear it down in there. Kind of hear it coming across that. Some of them have a wire. Yeah, there we go. You can hear it. There, you hear that? Hear it coming across those pieces. So that all looks good, and it's on all the sides, so that's what we want to see. It felt like it's on there good. Now sometimes this coil will have a little hook that'll drop down inside and go into that high tension lead, and this boot will slide up and it'll go down beside it. So it's important you check both sides to make sure that thing's in there good, and give it a little tug there, make sure it's not sliding off, and what would indicate that little hook is not in the lead like it's supposed to be. So all that looks good. I'd like to see that. So now we'll go to part here for number 11, and we'll say all of that is okay. Good. Now, spark present with our ZAT4 tester. We're going to leave our spark plug in there for this test, and we're going to hook up our tester. Let's go down one more drawer. Here we go. Now, this is the ZAT4. You can kind of see it written right on there. I'm not sure where they come up with these letters, but that's what it's called. Now, here we go. Now we're in place. Now, what I'm going to do for you guys that helps me a lot is to get the lights out of here. And that, I've seen more than one instance where turning the lights off will help find a problem down in a saw too. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to tilt this saw a little bit right there so I can pull straight on this starter housing. Let me get you back in there. All right, so I had the saw tilted so that I can pull straight out on this and not be wearing my rope in that insert like we talked about earlier. Make sure that's super tight, get that where it needs to be. Now I'm going to turn the lights off, and I'll be looking for any sparks anywhere down in here, but right here is also what I'm looking for. Now, I'm in the off position, so I'm going to turn it down one click. Now, if you're on a newer M-tronic saw, it has or even the 500i, it is just momentary off, and you let go, it automatically goes back to on. But this one will stay in off, so we want to make sure we turn it to on before we try pulling on that. All right, so what we're looking for with these lights dimmed, I'm going to push this down into the on position there. Make sure it's all the way down in on. And I'm going to pull, and we should see a spark here. And I'm also looking for anywhere else in there that we might have a spark. All right, we're getting a good spark. And you can't just barely pull that thing. And you see you won't get a spark. It's got to have speed to do what it needs to do. Okay, now we're going to record our ZAT4 spark testing results. It says here, did you have a spark? Yes, we had everything was okay. Other observations. Now we're going to also check for ignition shutoff function. So let's do that real quick. Let's turn it off. Unplug our lights again. Okay, so now we're going to test it with our workbench light off, and we're going to turn it from on to off. Should not see a spark this time. We're good, no spark. All right, let's record our findings here. Ignition shutoff function, okay. Spark plug correct heat range. So now we need to pull the spark plug out, take a look in here. So let's get our ZAT4 tester removed. Put it back away. I love those little inserts there. I'm not really good at putting tools away like I should, and that really helps me a lot. So we'll pull our spark plug out here. Let's see what we've got. Now, when you look at our plug, we're just going to give it a quick look and see what we see. I'm not a big fan of the colors that I'm seeing here. That's not a color we should see. It should be more black or regular color. That is a more grayish color. Can you see that in the light? How gray that is? Let me see. Here's an old spark plug. Can you see how that's more black? More black look to that. I don't like the look of that. So we're going to make note of that. Spark plug gray. Put that right on here. And as our first initial impression there of what's going on. Next, let's take a look at our the correctness of the spark plug there. Make sure it's the right one. Now we look through this is our Stihl Tech Ref Guide, and Brian Equipment puts that together. Man, it is an awesome thing. So what we'll do is we'll find our saw here. So we'll dive back through here. It has all the ones for the trimmers, and here's an 088. We're probably getting close now. Oh, that's 084. let's go back a little bit here and find 880. Here we go, 880. So our 880 tells us that we've got our screws here on the different carburetors, and this would be what we're supposed to be seeing. If that decal hadn't be worn off, we have it right here for us. Now, we slide over here to our spark plug. What spark plug should be in it? Well, it should be a BPMR 7A or a Bosch WSR 6F, and it gives our gap here. And again, I'm trying to think who was telling us that. Checking gap isn't huge, but again, you should be able to glance at it and say, hey, that's too close or too far. But again, if there's any doubt at all, throw a gauge in it. So what we're looking at right now is we need to make sure we have the right plug. So let's go ahead and see what number our plug is. So we have a BPMR7A. Now, there's something I want to point out on the newer saws, especially M-tronic and the injected saws. You can see this top is one piece. It doesn't have a threaded on part there. That's what you want. You do not want a removable one. Now, again, I do it in all of them. I don't run any, so I don't have a problem. Let me find an example for you here. Got one here somewhere. I thought. Here it is. Now, let's look at this box. BPMR7A, exactly what it should be. Let's pull the plug out. BPMR7A, but look at the top of it. It has a removable top on it. And the problem is these little guys will come loose, and then we've really got a mess. Find one here that's loose for you to look at. It's a 6. Yeah, here's a 6A. This one is one I remember the top. You see how that top is loose? Now, it's not loose much, but look how wiggly that thing gets. And if it starts arcing here on those inner threads and down here on the bottom, that computer in here can't figure out what in the world's going on. And it's ready to lose its mind, and you're going to have some problems. So always make sure that your spark plug is of this variety. Same, again, part number. We don't see anything different there. But we want to make sure that it has a non-screw top on it, unlike this one. All right, we'll set those over there. We'll put this one back in the box. Great, now our spark plug, we'll put it over there for a moment. Now, again, we're going to look at it and look at our sheet here. So spark plug correct heat range, it is okay. Exactly the right one. It's suited over, it's not suited over. Normal in appearance, no. And we're going to make a note there that it is gray. Spark plug gap, just giving it the ocular exam there, it looks pretty close. It tested okay on the ZAT4. We're not going to worry about that. But we are going to put a new plug in it because of that gray stuff. There's something wrong. And again, the spark plugs, and back to air filters. You know, air filter is a highly overlooked piece. For every gallon of gasoline you burn, it's roughly you're burning about 8,000 or 9,000 gallons of air for every 1 gallon. That is an enormous amount of air going through a filter. So every bit of that air is in a harsh condition here on a chainsaw. So don't be ashamed to change your filter extremely often. Next, don't be ashamed to change your spark plug. We looked at our plug here, and everything on it is okay except for that gray. So we're going to make a little circle there. Don't really like the way that looks. Now for 4-mix, this is for trimmers like the 91, the 90s, the 130s, those guys. They have a whole different style engine in them, and we will talk about that maybe some other time, but this is NA for a 2-stroke chainsaw. Now, our muffler condition. So let's stop right now, and we'll put our plug away. We'll flip this thing around, and let's check out a muffler.